Today's episode of Wiki Sift is brought to you by the Prince Cranston Theater and Concert Hall. Tickets now available for Five Finger Ninja Bread, featuring Jazzy Dave and the Wrestling Protestants. Welcome to Wiki Sift, a shallow dive into pop culture and fandom.
Today... Oh, right, that thing I was supposed to tell you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I told you I had to interrupt. Please continue.
Okay, no. Tell me the thing that you're going to show us.
Well, the first thing I would... No. The first thing I would like to tell you is that from last night to tonight, last night's bad movie night, thank you, Cleveland, for making that edit where the Super Mario Brothers movie had commercials in it. I do want my Mario Kart Realism mod. I would like to drive as realistic Dinosaur Yoshi and the Mario Brothers van. There are so many missed opportunities here. Somebody get on that mod. Also, I do not know why that image that I sent you started showing up on my Google News. Just the horoscopes from the Chicago Sun-Times. But my eyes were drawn to it, and I immediately thought, that's Drew Carey dressed as Miss Doubtfire. And it hasn't left my brain since. I do not understand why. That's it. You may start the show. Complete non sequiturs. Go ahead and do your introduction.
I have no idea why any of that is relevant.
It's not. That's the point.
Okay, so from the top. Welcome to Wiki Sift, a shallow dive into pop culture and fandom. Today we're going to be talking about celebrities who wrote novels.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Can you tell how excited I am about this?
I'm Tom, he is an evil genius white, and today I am joined by...
I'm Stevo, and I'm here every week.
Our special guest, Stevo, who is here every week.
Even though we only record once a month, I'm here every week.
Yeah, it's weird. I've noticed that. Even if no one else is in the voice chat, Stevo's there just talking to himself.
Doesn't record it, but he's there.
Oh, yeah.
I am Ian M. 0x Diamond Burton, and I have too many names for my name. I stream on Twitch. I'm the project director of Ken's Labyrinth 2, and you may know me as the guy who screamed all the cuss words in Brutal Doom.
Oh, and Stevo, you might want to mention that Friday Night Fanfiction is back.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, back isn't a technical thing. We released one episode after a year of being completely idle, and we don't have any more material ready to go, and we're off for the summer, so it's not like we're actually back. But there's at least a new season, a new episode. Yeah.
There's a new episode. Yay.
Yeah, it's barely an hour long, but the hour that's there, absolutely worth the year of not getting any joy.
Any joy.
Any joy. There was no... No, they did not deserve the joy. Actually, that's a complete and total lie. We didn't deserve the joy, and that's the title of the episode. Listen to it if you'd like context.
I'm trying to decide whether I want to know the context or not. Wiki Sift is a willfully ignorant fandom podcast where we don't actually directly consume media and just read what fans wrote about online, because I could play all 122 Pokemon games, but I'd rather go on Bulbapedia to see how many Pikachu variants there are. And the answer is, I don't know. I looked through this page and they have subcategories of categories of Pikachu variants, and I don't even know what constitutes a variant anymore. There's so many.
Listen, there's only two Pikachus that matter. Pikachu and Surfing Pikachu. Any other Pikachu I don't freaking care about, I don't want to know about it.
But today specifically, we're talking about celebrities who wrote novels and probably shouldn't have. And, okay, let's be clear. There's nothing wrong with anyone deciding they want to become a writer, no matter what stage of life they are. But I'm also going to be real. For some people, it's a more bizarre choice than others. Writing is a skill that can take decades to master, and some people have not only not mastered it, this is probably the first time they tried it.
See, I think I'm the inverse. I am a fantastic writer, and I'm deliberately not writing to spite the world by not giving it my material.
And yeah, some of these people, you can absolutely tell the only reason they got published is because they're already famous. That's who we're talking about today.
Great.
So
So
William
not William
Shatner's Tech
Shatner.
War.
I was about to say William
Oh,
Shatner.
actually, see, William Shatner, we're not going to be talking about tonight because William Shatner could be his own episode easily. And I think we will do a dedicated episode just to William Shatner.
We're really inviting a lot of flame wars onto this show.
Oh, are there a lot of hardcore William Shatner novel fans who are really up in arms?
I don't know if novel fans, but I feel like
Listen,
at this point, if there are any, it's all tongue in cheek.
the Tech War community is going to come down on us like a fucking guillotine upon our necks.
Oh my gosh. I've seen Tech War in two reviews and one speed run, and I still don't understand it.
They will when they see what I have to say about it.
Listen, all you have to know about William Shatner's Tech War is that you gotta be quick because they just saw Marty Dollar get on a train for downtown.
Oh boy. Who is Marty Dollar? Marty Dollar, Oakland, California. Hildebrand, McLeod, and Nielsen LLP. So apparently Marty Dollar does exist.
Don't think that's the same guy.
I don't think that's the same guy. Somebody spurted Marty Dollar.
I have no idea what we're talking about.
Don't even worry about it.
So we're going to start with Pamela Anderson. In 2004, she wrote a book called Star, a novel. I believe this is the blurb here. Like many 21-year-olds, Starwood Lee works two jobs to make ends meet.
Hold on, can you run that name by me just one more time?
Starwood Lee.
That's such a bad name.
That sounds like a word that's just been deprecated in the English language. Like,
It's so cumbersome.
he looked out upon the waves of the ocean, feeling quite starwardly about his future.
She works two jobs to make ends meet. The day shift at Talon's Nail and Tan Spa, and the night shift at Mother Pearl's Steak and Oyster Emporium.
They have this steak and oyster emporium now, and I was not informed.
Why is that so fucking funny to me? Steak and Oyster
This is a
Emporium.
grave injustice.
I don't think the word emporium belongs in the name of a respectable eatery. I'm sorry. It belongs in the name of like it's a discount carpet warehouse can have that in its name. If you want people to respect your food, you don't put emporium in the name.
What the hell is it friggin' when Dr. Hibbert's family walks into Moe's thinking that it's some sort of family restaurant? Uncle Moe's family feedback. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah.
The archetypal tomboy, at home in jeans and a t-shirt, Star is guileless and beguiling, a fresh-faced beauty who knows that too much of a good thing is wonderful. A loving daughter, a good friend, and a faithful girlfriend, this Florida girl...
She ascribes to the strong bad theory of life. Just remember that too much of a good thing is a great thing.
Too much of an awesome thing is really
bad
dumb.
and dumb.
Yeah. Yeah.
A loving daughter, a good friend, and a faithful girlfriend, this Florida girl gets more than her fair share of sun and fun. And then an innocent evening at a football game sets off a chain of life-altering events.
Oh no, is she allergic to football?
Do you want to take over this description for me?
Sure. 1 minute Star is cleaning the tanning beds at Talon's, and the next she's being primped and prodded in preparation for the front cover of a national magazine. Oh God, please don't say it's the NRA. Please don't say it's the NRA.
All I know is I saw primped and misread it as pimped, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
Was it playful body and curl your toes sexy? Star is an insider's look at a world of inflated egos and inflated bodies? I beg your pardon?
It's an inflation fetish magazine!
Oh, boy. Oh,
So the
now
event
I think
that happened
I know what the kink is now for that roving band of proto-stars.
The event that happened at the football game was she saw the mascot come out and she realized, oh God, I'm soaking wet
She
now.
realized she was a loony. Or, I'm sorry, a lunar.
I don't understand the question. Moving on.
Going far beyond the cliched air kisses and casting couches of Hollywood. This is a porno. Star shows what really happens when A-list meets D-cup when girl becomes goddess. Why?
Why do I feel like she wrote the blurb?
Oh, that makes me feel really uncomfortable.
I know.
Just stop. This is unnecessary.
It feels like somebody took, like, just slime and, like, molded it into the shape of a book. And, like, that's what we're reading right now.
Yeah, it's not so good, Pam. Maybe you should have workshopped the ideas a little bit more.
Little bit. Just a bit.
I went and looked at some of the reviews on Goodreads, and there's some good ones. This was from a 1-star review. They said, let me just say that this was a birthday gift from my friend Billy. I was reading the book jacket, which comes with a naked pinup of Pamela on the side cover. When I realized that Billy read the book before he sent it to me and wrote clever, sarcastic commentary in pencil throughout the margins.
Yay!
Genius. He breaks down unhealthy relationship dynamics, bad grammar, and run-on sentences. Once you start reading it doesn't take long to get through it. Just as you would guess, this novel is a thinly veiled, and I mean thinly veiled, story of how Pamela became famous. Another 1-star review says, a horrible waste of paper, ink, and my time. Ugh. I went into it really wanting to like it. I really want it to be a good book, sort of a I'm not just a blonde girl with big boobs kind of book, you know?
No, I don't.
I was sadly disappointed. Yes, books are my favorite medium to enjoy big boobs.
Listen, I'm just saying, you've never appreciated a pair of big honka balonka bazoobalazooms until you've had them described to you by the poet laureate of the English language.
There's a lot of syllables you use there.
I do kind of want now for someone to do a novel where every page is just ASCII art of boobs.
I think that those Twitter accounts exist.
Yeah, probably.
Do you want me to read one of these, or you want Ian to read one?
I'll soldier on for a little bit longer. I knew from the first chapter that it was going to be awful, but I stuck it out until the end anyways. I'm not sure why. When it comes to recommending this book, I recommend you stay as far away from it as possible. This reviewer gave it 2 stars out of 5.
Oh.
We're heading up in the world.
Yeah.
I read this book primarily because my cousin was the ghostwriter.
Oh,
Given this knowledge, some of the more graphic sex scenes gave me pause, especially an orgy near the end. If only because I pictured my elderly great aunt reading them.
Oh, yeah, baby, this is hot. This is hot stuff for mama.
I haven't been this moist since the last war.
Oh, jeez. What? Okay, so
I haven't felt this hot since the last time I touched my Great Depression.
What?
Oh.
Is that a euphemism?
Grandma, no. Grandma, no. It's time to go home, Grandma.
That being said, it was an amusing tale of a young girl who comes to the Hollywood scene riding on her good looks. At times it is hard to believe how naive this character is, especially the scene where she flies to LA and is completely ignorant of airport policies. It becomes obvious that this is an autobiographical tale when Pam describes
when Bam Margera shows up.
the ingenuous role on a television series about the lifeguards called Lifeguards Incorporated.
Can't see a reference there at all. It's not alluding to anything. It's just completely original.
That's a reference to that's a reference to Star Wars.
It's William Shatner again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Tech Wars.
Yeah,
Sorry, Tech
when
War.
William Shatner played that lifeguard in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Oh no, please. I don't want a slow motion scene of William Shatner running topless on a beach. I don't want a slow motion scene of William Shatner running topless on a beach.
His man boobs jiggling majestically as he bounces.
I was going to ask if we're talking about young Shatner or old Shatner, but I think we just answered that.
Did we? Did we really?
I don't know.
Well, when you mentioned the man boobs, I'm like, oh yeah, that's old Shatner.
Well, somebody with access to an AI and less morals than me, go generate that image, will ya?
No, please don't.
That's one of the best things about current technology. Yes, you can screw the artist over, but also you don't have to tell people about your weird kinks, do you? You just get the AI to do it for you.
We can have at least a few years before the AI rises up.
A few. 2.
Another 2-star review. This was a quick, easy, typical chicklit summer read. Pamela Anderson gets her story across under the masked label of fiction, though anyone who is a fan of hers can pick out the comparisons. Fictional busty blonde Starlight gets a job as Tool Girl on Hammer Time.
Yeah.
I did notice one review commenting how the book at one point uses the wrong there. Like, they're gonna fly me out to Los Angeles.
Oh my god.
Quality. There's a 1-star review that said, this is pretty much the type of book you'd expect Pam Anderson to write, except she didn't write it. She had someone else ghostwrite it. And you'd think that since Pam Anderson is all famous and rich, she could hire someone with talent.
Ooh, that guy's cousin's gonna be pissed.
It's like, just because somebody has money doesn't mean they want to spend money.
Yeah, look at Scrooge McDuck. You ever read his autobiography?
Yeah, Val just says, yeah, look at rich people.
Another 1-star review. They said, I like Pamela Anderson and I wanted to like this book. However, its faults weigh heavily on the reader. Thoughts appear sporadically from random characters throughout the story, careening the point of view off course.
Careening! Using the big words today.
The lazy writing is especially noticed when the same key phrasing is used to end or gloss over C's just when they have the potential to get interesting. The final third of the novel is worse than the rest, as even the redeeming sparkle in the main character's voice falls flat. The book begins to lack so much cohesion, it feels as though there are 5 writers instead of 2. On page 270, they can't even keep the name Star and Stan straight. The ending neither feels like a conclusion nor a segue to a sequel. It just stops rambling, which is at least something, I suppose. Again, I like Pamela. I think she's funny and genuine. I wish she'd written autobiography instead of this mess.
Well, actually, the Stan thing was intentional. The book was originally licensed. This is true. I'm not just making this up. It was originally licensed out as a sequel to Ed Wood's Glenn or Glenda. It was originally going to just be called Star or Stan. And that mix-up is actually the only remnant of the original draft that makes it into the final. It's true, just don't look it up.
I still doubt him. I'm still doubting it.
You had me going for a little bit. A 2-star review. Terribly written and terribly entertaining if you like stories about beautiful people and their sordid sex lives.
I could take it or leave it.
This is Pamela Anderson's thinly veiled life story of the billions of people she had sex with, names changed to protect the innocent.
I still feel like literature like this it becomes kind of passé and unnecessary since the advent of Pornhub. Do you really need to spend the time reading this stuff when you can just watch actual pornography?
I'm sorry, but I read ahead and I want to die. Please reveal to the audience why I want to die.
Okay, so names were changed to protect the innocent, though it wasn't hard to guess who was who. Alan Timish? Really?
Alan Timish. Of course.
He's a little Timish, not a lot of Timish.
He's kind of like Tim.
How so terrible she is at disguising these things. Lifeguards Incorporated. What was it? Hammer Time?
Yeah, instead of Tool Time.
Yeah.
1-star review. This book reads like the world's longest blonde joke that doesn't have a punchline. So naturally she wrote a sequel.
No.
In
What?
2006.
Please? No?
2006, she wrote a book called Starstruck, a novel.
Oh boy.
Here's the summary. Starwood Lee's hasty secret marriage to rock and roll bad boy Jimmy Deeds triggers a chain of events that makes Hollywood tabloid history.
Of course, she got married to Adam Sandler and Mr. Deeds. Ooh! Oh, Starwood Lee wanna give a dibba doo-doo!
Together, the couple will soar past the brightest lights and greatest heights of stardom, but as Star and Jimmy's lives become more public, their secrets grow that much darker, and soon everyone on the planet will find out what it really means to be starstruck.
Will they?
So, Amazon has, if you go to their page for this book, you can actually click through and read the first several pages. And I thought about letting us read it, but if we did, this episode would be twice as long because it's so every couple of seconds we would have to stop and process whatever just happened. And I think it was getting into the territory of like we're starting to break my one rule about not reading the whole thing because there's so much of this and it's so bizarre.
I'm intrigued. I will have to do that on my own time.
Yeah.
I'm going to just point out one thing only.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that the title blurb, the blurb on the cover to make you want to read the book, despite the shit quality of it, is from Anne Rice. As in, like, the respected vampire novelist Anne Rice.
I don't read books. I'm not familiar with.
Interview with a Vampire.
Okay. All right. Got it.
Yeah, remember that movie? She was the one that wrote the book about it.
I still haven't seen the movie.
That's a
I'm
pretty good
useless in this conversation.
Okay, so reviews for this book. 1-star review said it was just so bad. The writer, never stellar in the first, was terrible in this one. It went from a semi-believable, mild fictionalization of realish people and events to a bad coke trip. For example, where Star is a peacenik who just bangs everyone in a 25-mile radius in the first one. In the second, she is faithful to one guy and, becomes a paparazzi serial killer.
Okay.
Is this still supposed to be like a partial semi-autobiographical thing here? Is she admitting something to us?
She went in a very unusual direction for the second one. If the writing wasn't bad enough, the content was so self-indulgent. A big movie company is evil because they expect you to show up and do your job. The horror. Get over yourself. One of the things that made the first one a little bearable was Star played the lovable dork, willing to work and not complain or take any of that celebrity entitlement seriously. Cap off the book with the fact that whoever edited it must have been doing it for the first time and possibly for free. Awkward sentences abound, some with no noun, some with no verb.
What? How do you make mistakes that big?
I don't know.
What were the sentences? Of the period?
1-star review. While frustratingly badly written, I was positively surprised how imaginative, unexpected, creative this book is. The protagonist, cleverly named Star, is a young blonde actress who stars in a hit TV show where she plays the role of a lifeguard.
Oh, because her name is Star! She stars! And her name is Star. Oh. Now I understand. Sorry.
The plot thickens when she falls in love with a bad boy rocker archetype and an adult home video they make. No, not one in which they're voting or driving a car, the other kind. Is somehow leaked to the press. without giving too much away, I just wonder where Anderson came up with this crap. There's a 3-star review. It says, was not expecting that ending. And after that, I found this other review with no rating. It says, I literally do not care that this series is ghost written and has a lower average review than freaking Mein Kampf. I demand a 3rd tome dealing with the fallout of all the insanity that last chapter dropped on us like huge tracts of land. So I kept seeing these reviews talking about the ending, and I became obsessed with this. So I scoured the internet trying to find out just what happens in that last chapter. I spent a long time just trying to find the contact info of one guy who professionally reviewed the book just to ask him what happens at the end. I couldn't find any way of reaching him. I found a second professional reviewer, but she turned out to be an absolute loon, so I decided not to talk to her. So finally, I registered an account on Goodreads so I could reply to the person who left that user review, and she responded. She said, earlier on in the book, Star and Jimmy had shoved a paparazzo off a cliff when they'd caught him peeping in their house. And in the last chapter, it turns out Star's brother had leaked security camera footage to the press and cops showing this. The pair end up in a high-speed chase and are arrested before their plan to crash the car and go out in a blaze of glory. Star tells Jimmy she's pregnant as she's being cuffed. Jimmy goes feral and tries to pull the cops off her, but he gets Swiss cheesed with bullets for his trouble. So the book ends with her cradling her stomach and sobbing, I'll always love you, Jimmy, in the backseat of the cop car.
Wow. Oh, jeez. That's a lot to digest, Tom.
That's the end of the book.
And if they adapted it to a movie, what song would start? But, and I will always love you.
All right. You want to move on to the next author?
Sure.
No, I'm good. I'm done.
Guess who the next author is? Snooki.
I don't know who Snooki is.
So you know how there was that show about the people who lived in New Jersey and they were all orange with spray tan and they were all meathead
Oh God,
stupid
no, not
people?
a Jersey Shore cast member. No.
Yes.
Yep. Snooki from Jersey Shore wrote a novel.
That's disappointing. That's very disappointing. Why do we have to read about? Why am I spending my Monday night talking about this?
I have a feeling, Stevo, that that's what like every English teacher she ever had probably said as well when they found out. I'm very disappointed to hear this.
So in 2011, she wrote a book called A Shore Thing.
Oh God!
Yeah, I just wanted to pause to let you guys get the exasperated sighs out of the way. The blurb says Giovanna, in quotes Gia Spumanti, and her cousin Isabella Bella Rizzoli are going to have the sexiest summer ever.
Spumante? Isn't that like sparkling wine or something?
Isn't that a cheese?
I like the idea that that an Italian writer could come up with a convincing Italian name.
Giovanna Spumante and her cousin Tony Vodka.
And her uncle Joey Garlic.
Well, they couldn't be more different. Pint-sized Gia is a carefree, outspoken party girl, and Bella is a tall, slender athlete who always holds her tongue.
Does that really count as like the two opposites of character in this universe?
Yeah, I feel like that's everyone's reaction when reading this. Like,
wow. Okay, yeah.
For the next month, they're ready to puff up their hair, put on their stilettos, and soak up all that Seaside Heights, New Jersey has to offer. Hot Guidos, cool clubs, fried Oreos, and lots of tequila. You know, a novel.
I have a coworker named Guido, and my friends keep yelling at me every time I talk about him. They're like, stop using a slur. I'm like, I'm not. That's his name. He gets banned by Nintendo for trying to put that in as his trainer in Pokemon. This story is not engaging me at all so far, as you can probably tell.
Yeah, me neither. I had to look it up, by the way, and I'll give her credit. It is an alcohol, but it's also the name of a flower. So, all right, okay, all right. I'll grant it.
So far, Gia's summer is on fire. Between nearly burning down their rented bungalow, inventing the popular tan tags at the Tantastic Salon where she works, and rescuing a shark on the beach.
Shark on the beach. That is definitely a sex position.
She becomes a local celebrity overnight. Luckily, she meets the perfect guy to help her keep the flames under control. Firefighter Frank Rossi is exactly her type. Big, tan, and Italian. But is he tough enough to handle Gia when things really heat up? Bella is more than ready for some fun in the sun. Finally free of her bonehead ex-boyfriend, she left home in Brooklyn with one goal in mind: hooking up with a sexy gorilla for a no-strings-attached summer fling.
Sexy gorilla.
So she came here to...
Sexy gorilla.
She came here to fuck Donkey Kong.
And she's all out of bubblegum.
She's all out of bubblegum.
That's my new name. The next time we do a sync play, I'm just going to be Sexy Gorilla.
In no time, she lands a job leading Beat Up the Beat dance classes at a local gym and is scooped up by Beamer driving preppy Bender Newberry. Only problem, Bella can't get a romantic and ripped boss Tony Troublino out of her head.
Troublino!
Why? Why any of this?
I particularly liked this one review that was a 1-star review and said, well, Snooki wrote a bookie and I read it. It was a 5-star review.
Oh. Is this the one Snooki left?
The review says, I'm at a loss. I honestly don't know what to tell you all, but this book was good. It was like good, you know? Like when you're reading a book that is mostly about girls looking for penises, but you want to know what happens next, and you don't want to throw it across the room a little bit, and then unexpectedly hilarious slapstick comedy ensues, but doesn't lead to the most boring Scooby-Doo mystery resolution ever. No, you've never had that experience? Me either. It was disorienting. And I'm at a loss how to rate this. I mean, I have to give it 5 stars because I laughed out loud at almost every page, even though most of the laughter was in a what way. I don't even really think this was unintentional. It was funny.
That does seem like the long con. Like, one of us weasels their way into the ghostwriting ranks.
Just to embarrass Snooki.
And then when they finally get access to somebody who they can absolutely rail on, end up making an honest-to-goodness book.
1-star review, worst book I've ever read in my life. After this, I think I'm morally obligated to promote every 1-star book on my shelf to 2 stars because it's wrong to put anything on the same level as this thing. Another 1-star review says, all of the characters are poorly developed, especially the love interests. I think the development was given as much time as their names were. The plot makes no real sense. How could it when the heroine saves a shark by stumbling over it?
Ugh.
I'm frankly still hooked up on the phrase inventing the popular, quote, tan tags, unquote.
Yeah.
Listen, I have to ask, why would you even include that in the description when it tells you fucking nothing? What the fuck is a tan? Is that when you get a spray tan on all your skin tags only so that like you can go like, hey, look, like what is it?
Stop it.
I'm kind of imagining something kind of like a nicotine patch that you put on your arm and it gives you a tan.
I'm still stuck on Sexy Gorilla.
So
who wouldn't be?
I found a promo video where Snooki was she was promoting her book.
Snooki was promoting her bookie?
Yeah. Do you want to watch it now, or do you want to just give you a summary of my favorite bits?
Give me a summary. I want to let my imagination take over, because I still don't even know what Snooki looks like.
So, here's some quotes from the video. She said, my castmates are very surprised that I'm an author, because they didn't even know that I read books. But like I said on Ellen, I could go to frickin' Barnes & Noble, sit down, get a coffee, and read a book. Yes, this is Snooki's words on being able to read.
Wow. Impressive. Impressive these humans exist.
It probably does put her past the other cast members, to be fair.
I love the idea that she went on Ellen just to clear up that she is capable of reading books.
There was this one time I was at the dentist and I read this Highlights magazine.
Dude, that Goofus and Gallant shit is lit. That Gallant is kind of a peg, but I'm telling you, that Goofus, man, what a sexy gorilla.
Another quote from the video that I liked, she said, "After I'm done with Jersey Shore, I definitely want to have my own show, maybe even a talk show, definitely maybe a spin-off or something, definitely want to have more books." Part of the reason I wanted to do this is because I actually...
You hate us and you want to punish us?
Mm-hmm.
The first time I heard of this book was when I was actually in a bookstore one day and I just passed by and I saw the book with Snooki's name in it. And I'm like, no.
God damn it, I read ahead. Mother.
So I decided to pick it up and see just how far I could read before I got annoyed. I got 5 sentences in. She did write another book called Gorilla Beach.
That's why I got mad. I read that there was a sequel called Gorilla Beach.
This one was written in 2012. So the next year, the blurb from the book says, oh no. Okay. The blurb says, Jersey's sexiest...
No. That third word, that's not a word. That's not a word, is it?
Yeah. Jersey's sexiest Guidettes
What
are
the
are back.
I remember 3D Space Guidette Pinball from Windows 95.
Guidette, I choose you.
Gorilla!
The only Pokemon who only says somebody else's name. They're back for another scandalous summer at the shore, and this time, Giovanna Gia Spumante and Isabella Bella Rizzoli are raising the stakes to find thrills in hot gorillas, unemployment, douchebag exes, family drama, and dingy apartment be damned. But when the girls unknowingly cross an overprotective mafiosa mama, all bets are off. Booted from Seaside Heights for good, the spunky sequined meatball and her sensitive, quiet cousin are forced to flee to Atlantic City. This is weirdly hard to read, man.
Okay, fleeing to Atlantic City does track because nobody is willingly going to go to Atlantic City. Except maybe my brother and my stepdad.
Their escort out of hell is Fredo, a weird and scrawny...
Frito? Like Frito-Lay?
Fredo, like...
Oh, Fredo.
No, she misspelled Frodo. She was actually trying to make this a tie-in. It's a fun fact. Fun fact. You may not know this. The original draft, this was actually a sequel to Lord of the Rings.
Fredo, a weird and scrawny but hooked up club manager from a prominent family whose master plan is to pimp out Gia's psychic gifts at the roulette tables.
What? What?
How Ian's laugh completely clipped there.
Pimp out her Gia's psychic. So what? She's like looking at the guy across the table and thinking really hard, like, "Oh yeah, I'm jerking you right now," and he's going like, "Oh my god!" And then Frito walks up to him and goes, "Hey, that'll be $5."
Suddenly,
hey gorilla, you got $5 to spot me? God damn it! It opens Google on my phone.
Suddenly, it's raining Benjamins for the coiffed and tanned threesome. Top shelf tequila and seafood dinners are not all they're scoring. Bella snags a pale but talented boardwalk artist. Gia hooks up with a high stakes poker hottie, and with Gia's coaching, Fredo
high stakes poker hottie? What? I thought poker was only.
Yeah.
Never mind.
That was my favorite Disney movie, Poker Hottie.
Oh no. With Gia's coaching, Freya might have a chance at becoming a certified juice head. Or at least a gorilla in Wait, juice head? Does that mean he's taking drugs? Like,
Yeah.
Like, these are really weird slang words.
These girls only get off if the guy has shriveled grape nuts from using steroids.
yeah, I guess like juiced up, like working out, but that's such a dumb way to say it.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
But when the casino suspects cheating, the trio is hounded by haters and tricksters determined to sabotage their endless summer.
It's not cheating. I'm just psychic. Haven't you watched Jersey Shore?
With hearts and loot on the line, losing is not a chance the crew can take. This time, the house isn't going to win. So, yeah, I have just a couple of reviews on Goodreads here that I want to touch on.
I'm eagerly awaiting for you to tell me there's a third book in the series co-written by Jane Goodall about the Gorilla Reserve.
The 2-star review, this reviewer said, I actually loved A Shore Thing and expected something similar with a sequel. This book feels weird right from the beginning. It definitely connects right back to the first book, but the new adventures are just way too far-fetched, even for Snooki. After page 200, I pretty much couldn't wait for it to be over. I am kind of amused that she kept reading for 200 pages. A 1-star review. Years ago, I had read her first novel, A Shore Thing. While both her novels are terribly written, I do have to give her props for not having a ghostwriter.
Yeah, okay, I can give that. I can credit where credit's due. Writing words is hard.
It kind of makes me wonder if she did have a ghostwriter that was terrible, or...
How bad of a ghostwriter do you have to be outshone by Snooki?
Well,
Stevo's got a point.
It's a thing that I keep seeing through all these celebrity novels. There's like always comments saying, oh, they should have hired a ghostwriter. This is terribly written. And then you find out they did hire a ghostwriter.
That does make sense in some bizarre way.
It almost seems to me, try and follow me on this, it almost seems to me like somebody who would actually be willing to let somebody put their name over top of their work for money maybe isn't very good at what they're doing. Just a hunch.
So I found a review on the EW.com. I guess this is by a professional reviewer here. Here are a couple of highlights from the review that I like. In Gorilla Beach, the girls return to Seaside Heights only to run into some bad luck. So what do? Flee to Atlantic City, of course. Joining Gia and Bella on their AC adventure is a new character, Fredo. Together, they managed to win $60,000 at the roulette table. Meanwhile, Gia meets Arthur Ponzarelli, aka Ponzi.
Oh,
and guess what?
off.
He's a professional con man who scams Gia and her friends out of their prize money. I know, right?
I want to shove her down the fucking stairs now.
If you plan on skipping Snooki's Camp Fest Part 2, at least you can enjoy some of the more interesting lines and tidbits from the book. This sentence, Gia and Joe were as tight as a sausage casing. And this one, Gia's mood was like an old man's balls, swinging out of control.
M37 cannot confirm yet.
Gia believes she has ESP, although she calls it STD in one of her many malapropisms. And that's what allows her friends to win big at the casino.
STDs?
So keeping up with that theme, she tries to telepathically communicate with 2 pygmy alligators.
To be fair, for someone who's obsessed with having sex with gorillas to have an STD, I think that's believable.
How far down the barrel do we have to be to not be fair then? Because I don't know. I feel like we're approaching that event horizon.
Listen, once we've dug down past the bottom of the barrel.
You keep telling me to listen, and the more I listen, the more Tom talks about this crap. This isn't a good plan.
Once we've dug past the bottom of the barrel and made it down to the septic tank and ruptured that, then we'll be at the right level.
Then it's smooth sailing.
Oh no, I've struck limestone.
Bella and Gia are the victims of an attempted mugging, and the items the mugger most wants is their weaves. It says, I can sell the hair for more than your trashy dresses.
All right, cute. I've heard enough about Snooki.
Okay, let's move on from Snooki and let's move on to Nicole Richie.
You know, I still have some VHS tapes from when I was like a teenager, and there's definitely an ad or two for The Simple Life on there.
So here's the funny thing. I didn't think I would have to explain who Snooki was, but I wrote up an explanation of who Nicole Richie was just in case.
Well, that's when I paid attention to things, and I was not like a cloistered parent who works all the time.
So, yeah, for those who don't remember who Nicole Richie was, she's the daughter of Lionel Richie, and she and Paris Hilton were the two stars of the show The Simple Life, which is a show where they take two spoiled, incredibly rich young women and then film them struggling to do basic tasks that most people have to do every day. So who better than to write the great American novel about the human condition?
Oh,
I want to die.
Yeah, so,
I want to die.
Can
Why
I
are
read
you
this
doing
one?
this to me?
Can I read this one since I kind of remember Nicole Richie?
Okay, sure.
All right, so the book is 2005's The Truth About Diamonds, and the book blurb is as follows. In her electrifying first novel, Nicole Richie tells the sensational story of Chloe Parker, a rock royalty princess and a card-carrying member of Hollywood's inner circle, already do not give a shit.
Yeah.
At the age of 7, Chloe was adopted by a music superstar. Oh, I'm definitely not seeing this being just like VIP was. They have to change a little more about the upbringing. Make it not exactly like yourself, please. And his wife transforming her life from rags to riches. What followed was a wild childhood distinguished by parties with movie stars and rock idols, run-ins with the press and the police, and a subsequent stint in rehab. Suddenly, Chloe shoots to instant fame as a spokesmodel for a national ad campaign. When her long-lost birth father appears out of nowhere and her best friend betrays her, she must struggle to keep it on the game. See, yeah, you just type blah, blah, blah. I actually got bored just reading the blurb.
Yeah.
Thrift book reviews. Oh, God. No.
Yeah.
There
as I
are
sit
reviews.
Here,
oh, I have to see that.
I said suspiciously every single one of the reviews on thrift books is a 5-star review. I have doubts.
LA can be really cruel. I rarely ever give 5 stars, but I really love this book. It was like she was telling a story about herself, but from a different perspective. If some of the areas of the book are true, you can see why Nicole and Paris are no longer friends. You get an inside view of the LA party scene. I would really recommend you read this book. They're all from the same period of time except for the one in August a year later. Who was doing this?
I don't know.
I really enjoyed this book. Give it a chance. First off, I am a fan of Nicole.
I needed the money. I'm sorry.
One of these reviews is written like a 5-paragraph essay. In closing, I want to say, give Nicole a chance. I hope you enjoyed reading this review as much as I enjoyed writing it.
I am now just imagining, I'm imagining a man in a suit with a curled mustache, and he's got a snifter of brandy sitting in his armchair by the fire. So in closing, I believe you should give Nicole a chance.
So do you think these are paid reviews, or are they friends of hers, or just like...
First of all...
If I were her friend, she would have to pay me.
And I mean, literally any fragment of The Simple Life was like truth about them. I don't think either of them can operate a computer. I'm not sure. I don't think that the capability of writing this many coherent sentences exists. Oh my god, why does the last one have a spoiler warning? Has she written any other books?
Yes. Okay,
this is unfortunate.
Okay, so on Goodreads, I think the reviews are a little more honest. I found this 1-star review. They said, so apparently this is a story about Nicole Richie, who is called Chloe Parker in the book, narrated by Nicole Richie, who is pretending not to be Chloe. Yeah, I don't get it either. So the first thing that hit me when I got this book was the cover, in big bold letters under a Miss World picture of Nicole Richie, who is supposed to be Chloe Parker. It says, "The truth about diamonds," underscored by a running font that says, "a novel star, a novel star, a novel," several times. Apparently, Richie is trying to make like this is a work of fiction about a girl named Chloe, who is the fictional best friend of Nicole Richie.
That's very sad in a way.
It's so strange. This other 1-star review says, "I am no stranger to escaping reality with some trashy reality TV or a tabloid magazine. I found myself drawn to this book because it was on the bargain book list and there was no real world reruns on. I could not get past page 40. This has to be one of the worst books I've ever picked up. The characters were shallow and poorly developed. It was confusing why Nicole Richie was narrating a book as herself about a fictional friend. She starts by describing her and her friends in a nightclub. Most of them are drugged out or drunk. A fight occurs and Chloe runs off. Nicole witnesses her friend get beat by her drug-addicted boyfriend and thrown in his car. While her friend disappears for the week, she is only slightly worried. She explains no one notices she is missing because she isn't really famous. If this were my friend, I would be at the police station, not out shopping and having lunch. She does try to redeem herself by saying she was so worried she only bought one fabulous backless dress. Go Nicole.
I
quit reading about the time that Chloe reappears and immediately gets offered a deal to be on a show to be famous.
I hate this. Is that fair? Am I allowed to say that at this juncture?
Well, the worst part is knowing that this isn't the end of the line. This isn't the last stop on the train. There's more.
Yeah, no, this was 40 pages in.
Yeah.
Val, did you just make a train noise? Thank you.
Yeah, so I jumped to this other review just to give a little bit of context for more stuff that was said in the first review. But let me get back to the first review and some of the other stuff they say. So this Chloe chick is a Hollywood celebutante.
Hollywood celibate?
Celebutante? I don't know.
Wilt Chamberlain?
Suffering from...
So she doesn't have sex?
Wilt Chamberlain? That's not a person I expected to be referenced. Okay, suffering from several major problems. Firstly, she's not famous in her own right. This really hurts her pride because she's just a local celebrity in the LA clubbing scene and not a national tween role model for the starving American masses. Poor thing.
Oh.
Secondly, she's been introduced to drugs by the evil hulking monster Simone, who is the root cause of all of her problems, the skanky hoe. And now she's addicted and getting beaten up by her loser boyfriend, whom she's been dating on the rebound from her rich loser boyfriend, Joey the Junkie.
His parents really wanted to give him direction in life, making his last name the Junkie.
Yeah,
Joey the Junkie really hurt her feelings by cheating on her with another skanky hoe who is ugly and Latin American, not to mention that she hosts her own TV show. That's just insult to injury, y'all. Thirdly, when she does decide to turn her life around and quit using drugs, her best friends don't believe in her or show her their support. Really, they practically force her to break her shiny new vow with a couple of Xanax thanks to their skepticism. Later on in the review it says, okay, at this point, can I just say how disturbed I am by this whole Chloe is Nicole but not Nicole thing? I mean, why is Nicole even in this story? She's already distanced herself from this fictional plot by renaming all the real people. So why does she have to insert herself into the story?
listen.
That's the thing about this that just seems the most bizarre.
This is actually brilliant storytelling here. What you're not understanding is that this is actually a throwback to the Greek tradition, the Greek tragedy. Nicole being in the story, narrating the story about the fictionalized version of herself is nothing short of a genius throwback to the concept of the chorus within the tradition of Greek tragedy. Would you say, gentlemen,
Yes.
that the play Oedipus Rex was trashy? Of course not.
I say
And
thee
this
not.
is obviously on the same literary level. Same exact literary level of achievement here in, what was this called? The Truth About Diamonds.
Sir, just the 2 number 5s and a small kid's ice cream, please. I don't need to hear your tirade. No, you are 100% ugh.
Okay, so
Why did you bring up Oedipus Rex?
I panicked. It was the only piece of Greek tragedy I could name.
You panicked? Val, he panicked? You panicked?
Listen, I launched into a tirade about how it was like Greek tragedy, and that was the only one I could name. So it was either that or sit there going, "Oh,
Sir,
while
here's the
waiting
murder
for."
weapon. He said in quotes, he panicked.
Listen, sometimes you panic and you shank a bitch. It happens. That was the plot of Oedipus Rex.
okay, so this is where it gets like really.
Oh, we're
I
still
don't know.
building? Are we still on the upslant of this roller coaster?
A little bit. Okay. So, this is my favorite part of this review. The use of words like diaphanous and embodiment makes me believe that there was a ghostwriter for at least half this book. Although I have no difficulty believing that the first half of this book is pure undiluted Nicole. I mean, what ghostwriter worth her salt would write like this?
That's got a real, like, girl gamer bathwater thing, 100% undiluted Nicole.
So, said, what ghostwriter worth her salt would write like this? Chip turned and clocked Chloe on the left side of her face. It sounded awful. I'll never forget the pop. At the time, I thought he'd smashed her face in. She tumbled to the ground just as fast as any girl ever hit by any guy. You fall just as fast and just as hard, whether you're smacked in Hollywood, Cleveland, Brooklyn, or Guadalajara.
I don't know, doesn't gravity kind of fluctuate depending on how high or low you are compared to sea level?
When Chloe was done falling, she was sitting on her ass in a funky puddle, the perfect metaphor for the pond of loser juice she'd been swimming upstream in ever since the drugs had won her over.
Ew. Loser juice.
It's like, yes, this is the first thought that will go through my head when my best friend gets hit in the face in the middle of the street by her boyfriend.
Oy.
Loser juice, that's what you get when your gorilla's not a real certified juice head. You just get the loser juice.
New Capri Sun, loser juice.
I just can't wrap my mind around, like, the way she approached this. Like, her friend got beaten up by her boyfriend on the street, and she's like, it's like, hey, I bet people get hit like this in different cities around the world.
No, not only that, but the way at the end she's like, yeah, he punched her. Boy, that's really fucked up. Like, people get punched all the time, right? Oh, by the way, she's a fucking loser.
How nice.
Yeah. And isn't this like Nicole Richie writing about herself, but from her, but not her perspective? I feel like
It's
you could
bizarre.
put together a psychological profile in her just based on this book. Like,
Yeah, I can see that.
That's why she had to put herself in it as the narrator against the fictional version, because she couldn't say those things about herself. She had to say them about Chloe.
I like how I did read ahead.
yeah.
At least she took some time off.
Yeah, 5 years later, she wrote another book called Priceless. I'll just go straight to the reviews for this one. A 1-star review in Goodreads. Priceless centers on Charlotte Williams, a young New York socialite, as she deals with the arrest of her beloved workaholic father for fraud and embezzling millions of dollars. As her bank accounts are frozen and she herself comes under suspicion for involvement, she must face the world without support and without her millions.
Oh, no.
The setup of this story had the potential to be quite interesting. To see how a rich, spoilt girl deals with suddenly being penniless and homeless. However, the plot was lacking in its execution. From being cliched or predictable, the book often read like a cheesy midday movie. Though I can't say I was completely bored, I wasn't exactly thrilled either. At least halfway through the book, I knew how it would all turn out and what the twist would be, but just kept going just to see if I was right. I was. Then there's Charlotte herself. I found her very hard to relate to and could barely sympathize with her situation. You can hardly say she fell from grace, as her life was one big scandal even before her father's arrest. Charlotte had just arrived back from a year studying in France after burning down one of the buildings at Yale the year before in a fit of jealous rage, as you do.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
That's the reviewer's comment, not mine, because that sounds like something we would be saying.
Oh, yeah.
That, along with a name for being one of New York's party girls with a string of former boyfriends, Charlotte's reputation wasn't exactly squeaky clean. Once she arrives in New Orleans, things seem to fall into place for Charlotte in a matter of hours. She already has a job, new best bud, a potential singing career, and not one but two men vying for her affection, of course. The way things fall so into place for Charlotte made it very difficult to ever feel sorry for her, despite the reasons that brought her to New Orleans in the first place. A lot of the times she came off as superficial, self-centered, and played the weak, teary-eyed damsel in distress often. The men in the story were a bit hopeless when it came to Charlotte. Their attitude was something like this, men in the book. "Oh, Charlotte, you are so attractive and talented and beautiful. Although I shouldn't like you, I'm apparently blind to your flaws and find it very difficult to stop myself from pulling you close and having my way with you right now." Vomit. So this book I found the same day as the Snooki book when I was in that bookstore. And so I picked it up to see how far I could get.
You're just kind of hammering it home that you have laid your hands on these literatures.
Yeah,
You've
your
tainted
filthy,
yourself.
stinky little hands. How can you live with yourself?
Well, that wasn't what I was going to say. Is like, have you taken a bath, hopefully? But...
So again, I read the first page to see how far until I got annoyed. Here's how far I got. And I can actually read this because I found an excerpt of the first page. As the beautiful young woman strode through the international arrivals terminal at JFK, several people turned to look. A flight attendant noticed the way she carried herself, the clothes she wore, her shoes, and guessed she just walked out of first class. She was right. A young man pulling espresso paused, distracted by the girl's obvious sexuality and lovely figure. She felt his gaze and turned slightly, favoring him with a brief smile that made his hand jump, causing him to scald himself. That is where it's... I'm not subjecting my eyes to any more of this. Like...
She was beautiful and hot and perfect. And then when a guy looked at her, she was like looking back at him, and he was like so flustered that he burned himself like a big stupid asshole.
And I looked at her, and she looked at me.
It's a cheesy scene from a bad rom-com, not a novel. Like, when I saw those two books at the same time, I feel like that's been kind of weighing on me ever since. And I'm like, there has to be something that I'm going to do one day to get this out of my system. And today is that day.
Today is that day.
So you had to taint me with this now. Now it's inside of me. You said, "Out, demon, out!" And it went, "Shoot!" Now it's in me. Thanks.
Well, did you ever see the
That
movie
sounds
The Ring?
sexy.
All right. So I don't know if you two are familiar with this one, but Morissey wrote a book.
I
have no idea who that is.
I saw a blurb about this the other day. I didn't read the article the blurb was from, but I did see that this existed.
So yeah, he wrote a book called List of the Lost in 2015. According to Wikipedia, List of the Lost is a novel written by Morissey. The book represents his first non-lyrical fiction publication. It is written in the stream of consciousness narrative style.
You know what? I've come to the conclusion that there is no such thing as good stream of consciousness anything. It is just a phrase pretentious people use to be weird.
Hey,
I might come back to that.
Okay.
Definitely not for a novel. Like,
That's what I was going to say. Is maybe in poetry or something, but certainly not a novel.
Yeah, poetry. Yes, I did not include in this, but a story.
Yeah, stream of consciousness might be funny for like a joke with friends, or you send your friend a funny text message, you know, not like 400 pages, you know?
Yeah.
The book is about a 1970s relay team in Boston who accidentally kill a homeless person whose death brings misfortune to the team. But that's not why this book became infamous. Reception. The book received largely negative reviews. The Independent's Adam Sherwin described it as a leaden festival of self-pity. John Niven of the New Statesman, responding to critics who wrote that the book may have been improved by a strong editor, opined that asking a decent editor to save this book would have been like asking a doctor to help a corpse that had fallen from the top of the Empire State Building. The response in social media was critical, particularly of a sex scene in the book. In December 2015, the novel was announced as the winner of the literary review Bad Sex Award, which is a thing.
I was gonna say, I'm glad to have found out that is a thing.
I read this in particular is one of the things that was mentioned in the little blurb that I read. The phrasing of how Morissey refers to an erection in particular.
Yes. There's like a whole article in The Guardian. Morissey wins Bad Sex Award.
That's also a great article title in general.
It is. It's so good. Established in 1993 by the Literary Review's then editor, Aubryn. I don't know how to pronounce this person's name. I'm sorry.
Wah.
Yeah, the aim of the Bad Sex and Fiction Awards is to draw attention to poorly written, perfunctory, or redundant passages of sexual description in modern fiction, with the hope of discouraging them.
It's a hope in vain.
A scene involving Ezra, one of the athletes, and his girlfriend Eliza caught the attention of the judges and was the favorite to win when the shortlist was announced last month. The scene in question reads, this is an incredible run-on sentence. Okay.
May I read this, please?
Yes, please do.
At this, Eliza and Ezra rolled together into one giggling snowball of full-figured copulation, screaming and shouting as they playfully bit and pulled at each other in a dangerous and clamorous roller coaster coil of sexually violent rotation, with Eliza's breasts barrel-rolled across Ezra's howling mouth and the pained frenzy of his bulbous salutation extenuating his excitement as it whacked and smacked its way into every muscle of Eliza's body, except for the otherwise central zone.
Val, would you make me sleep on the sofa if I called my erection my bulbous salutation?
The whole sentence is...
Val has confirmed that I would be relegated, quote, to the dogs if I ever called my erection my bulbous salutation.
This reads, let me just say here, if anyone here is familiar with the works of Samuel Beckett, Waiting for Godot has a scene in which an otherwise mute character is berated into performing a long, meandering, and completely, fully nonsensical monologue, which is just like words upon words upon words that come together in something that resembles speech, perhaps, but doesn't say anything. That's this. If he had instructed him, do a monologue about sex, he would have said all of these words in this order.
Do a barrel roll.
Feel like you could do a bingo game for that stream of consciousness shit too.
The otherwise central zone is the perfect climax to that sentence. Like, what is that?
The otherwise central zone.
Can you draw me a map, sir? Please tell me where I need to go to get this quest.
There's so many like turns of phrase here that are just so amazing to me. Like, giggling snowball of full-figured copulation.
I like clamorous roller coaster coil.
It does feel like an AI wrote this.
clamorous roller coaster coil of sexually violent rotation.
Like, how is this not supposed to be funny?
There's a fucking second one. Oh, God. Please,
Yeah.
I have to read this.
Okay, yeah. I found this other article that said there's an even worse second Morissey sex scene.
Oh.
The locked position when Ezra rubbed as far as he could go, the hump and bump of injection as his eyes met hers, in equal swirl, guts and innards, finally melting with intellect as jets of Ezra would cut in and then cut off at that moment when all of the body is felt from tip to toe. The inside works just as well as the outside. With playful nastiness, Eliza twists her entire body as she pulls away, knowing that this will cause neatly burning pain to Ezra, which amuses her because it brings to Ezra's face a new expression, like inhaling a cigarette. That face, that landscape. How could he see his own reflection every single day and not feel blessed?
Excuse me, did you just call my face a landscape?
Yes.
I beg your
Sure
pardon?
did.
Guts and innards melting with intellect. What is that supposed to mean?
We're merging!
He's coming on her brain.
Now listen here, if you've been looking at my Rule 34 for Krang, you are sorely mistaken.
I don't even know if I want to go into the next one this episode or save it for the next, because I just feel so dirty.
Do one more.
Okay. So Sean Penn wrote a novel in 2018 called Bob Honey Who Just Do Stuff.
Okay, I will. Goodbye.
Bob Honey Who Just Do Stuff is a 2018 American satirical novel written by Sean Penn. Narrated from the point of view of Pappy Pariah, the book tells the story of Bob Honey, a supposed international assassin who kills elderly people with a mallet.
Assassin?
Does he then turn to the camera? He turns to the camera and goes, "Ain't I a stinker?"
I just do stuff.
It's just Gallagher. Instead of a watermelon, it's old people.
And there's no racism, I think. There's no racism, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, also hopeful.
It's hard to tell. Under plot, in the Wikipedia article, it says, with no formal plot, it is not entirely clear if Honey's life story, recounted through Pariah, is supposed to be true or a figment of Honey's delusional mind. Honey lives in a quiet street in Woodview, California. Since his divorce, he has a hard time connecting with other people and annoys his neighbor with his lawn mowing. Honey complains of the incessant marketing of modern society and never-ending news cycles. His ex-wife, who drives an ice cream truck around his neighborhood, is now happily married to her divorce lawyer. Honey now longs for a young woman named Annie. When describing her, he says, effervescence lived in her every cellular expression, and she had spizzerinctum to spare.
So I'm sorry, hey, you what?
I think that's what they call it when you put sparkling grape juice in your ass. Spizzerinctum.
Is it also a portmanteau?
Isn't that's the Harry Potter spell for when you put sparkling soda up your butt?
Spizzerinctum.
That's also a Popeye-ism. Spizzerinctum.
Spizzerinctum. Oh no, I've burned the spizzerinctum.
Honey is a former septic tank salesman who becomes an assassin.
Wait, former people actually leave that business? I thought it was good gettins.
He tries to be more social, throwing a barbecue for his neighbors. His job as a contract killer for a secretive government program takes him around the world. The off-the-books government program instructs him to target elderly citizens and others who drain resources in a consumption-driven society. His adventures include a trip to New Orleans to help Katrina victims. He travels to Baghdad, Beirut, South Sudan, and other locations for sewage emergencies. Honey also submerges himself into the Pacific Ocean in a quest to find sea life.
What is...
Yeah.
What do you mean to find sea life?
Is there a focus here?
Stevo, may I remind you, the first sentence, the first 4 words here were with no formal plot, so...
Yeah. An investigative journalist starts asking questions about him, causing Honey to start making changes in his life. He is threatened by an ever-invasive media and possible assassination attempts from his mysterious controllers. The book includes an epilogue featuring a poem that touches on current events. The 2017 Las Vegas shooting, North Korea, Puerto Rico in the aftermath of Hurricane Maria, and the Me Too movement. Honey also writes a threatening letter to U.S. President Mr. Landlord, in which he advocates for the president's assassination. He declares, "You are not simply a president in need of impeachment, you are a man in need of an intervention. We are not simply a people in need of an intervention, we are a nation in need of an assassin. Tweet me, bitch, I dare you." The lengthy epilogue poem ends with Honey killing the investigative journalist with his mallet and running away to parts unknown. I don't know where to go from this.
I have one question, just one.
Yes.
My one question is, when exactly did Sean Penn lose his fucking mind? Because this sounds like something that you write after something has gone horribly wrong in the neural pathways of your brain.
Unfortunate.
Is he living in a house filled with black mold? Did somebody accidentally get lead in his water? Listen, I'm a weird guy. I love my absurdism, but this sounds like it's just like rambling madness that goes nowhere and accomplishes nothing.
Cue the Aqua Teen Hunger Force ending credits. Yes. That feels like the same amount of sense that would... Yeah, it feels like the exact same amount of sense you would find in your average Aqua Teen episode.
I now want the voice actor of Carl to do an audiobook of this.
And then Sean Penn escapes with Time Lincoln into parts unknown.
So there's a section just for characters. Pappy Pariah, born in the fictional town of Somerton Feathers, Iowa in 1960, Pappy Pariah is the author of the audiobook version of Bob Honey Who Just Do Stuff. Pappy is both the narrator of the book and the pseudonym for Sean Penn, who claimed to have met Pappy in Florida. Pappy claims to have written articles for mainstream American news outlets under a pseudonym himself, but this is his first novel. When he was 13, he suffered from severe appendicitis and says this medical event inspired him to become a writer.
What? How does getting appendicitis... Oh, you know what? I'm not going to question somebody's motivation. Good on you for following a life dream, then. Sounds like you had a goal and you met it.
Bob Honey, the title character, he is described as an angry, divorced, middle-aged man with a variety of jobs. Sewage specialist, carnival carny, Jehovah's Witness. That's not a profession. Government operative and assassin.
Let's be honest. Isn't it? Isn't it though? You gotta get up, get in your suit, get in the car, go door to door. I mean, come on. It kind of is.
Bob is alienated by a media-saturated society and has a hard time getting along with other people, especially since his divorce. The 56-year-old character has an ultraviolet skepticism toward the messaging and mediocrity of modern times. And then the landlord, Bob Honey, writes a scathing letter to the landlord, described as the violently immature 70-year-old boy man with money and French vanilla cotton candy hair. When asked about the Trumpian landlord character, Penn has maintained that it is up to the reader to interpret the metaphors he develops in the book.
It's not my job to do your thinking for you.
Basically, what he's doing is covering his ass so that he can claim, no, Secret Service, don't send me to fucking federal prison.
For threatening to kill the president.
I didn't say we should kill the president.
Tweet me, bitch.
Gee, I wonder who he could possibly have been referring to. Probably meant the Wendy's account.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes the most sense. Mm-hmm. You know, Dave Thomas.
Yeah.
So a portion of the novel is first published as a free Audible book, listing Pappy Pariah as the author and Penn as just the narrator of the audiobook. Initially, Penn denied being the author of the book, insisting instead that it was written by an author he had met in a bar in Key West, Florida. In press junkets to promote the novel's release, Penn has stated his wish to quit acting and become a full-time novelist.
Oh, definitely don't quit your day job. Well, I mean, you might have enough money to just quit your day job. If you do that, hey, live it out that way. Oh, geez.
Under reception, Bob Honey was met with generally negative reviews, with several critics decrying the writer's undisciplined style. Mark Athatakis, I don't know how to pronounce that, writing for the Washington Post, was critical of the book, observing that the satire was not humorous, and the writing incoherent with overuse of alliteration.
Would you like some pita chips with your humus?
On Crack.com, Mark Hill called it the worst novel in human history, observing that Penn writes like he's looked up every single word in his thesaurus except dictionary. I actually found out about this book through an article that was explaining purple prose. Are you too familiar with the term purple prose?
I've heard it. I have no idea what it means.
Yeah, same here.
It's a term used in writing. It's when people use like overly flowery language that is something that has no substance whatsoever and doesn't help the novel. It's just like the writer indulging in like poeticism for no good reason.
Sounding verbose for the sake of being verbose.
Yes. And so it gave this novel as an example of stuff to avoid doing. It says here in the article, the following extract from Sean Penn's debut novel, Bob Honey, is a perfect example of an author's purple prose affecting clarity. Even though the book is a satire, the text is as impenetrable to my imaginary forest. So here's the line from the book. There is pride to be had where the prejudicial is practiced with precision in the trenchant triage of tactile terminations. This came to him via the crucible-forged fact that all humans are themselves animal, and that rifle-ready human hunters of alternately species prey should best beware the raging ricochet that soon will come their way.
Sorry, is this an AVGN script?
I'm sorry, is this fucking Tom Bombadil speaking? AVGN and Tom Bombadil should do a review together.
Why couldn't I have the story of how Tom Bombadil did rags to riches, A-list to D-cup?
I would watch a show where Tom Bombadil shakes his boobs on the beach. What can I say?
I think you.
And then Sean Penn at the end comes up and kills him with a hammer and says, "Tweet me, bitch."
So, Steven, what you said caused horrible realization to sink within me when I realized Pam Anderson's a better writer than Sean Penn.
At this point, I think Snooki might be a better writer than Sean Penn.
That's a hard one.
Can I just say really quick that it's weird to me that there's a part of me that likes that sentence, but the part of me that likes it is thinking of it as if it were part of Waiting for Godot. If you took something like this and framed it as a work of absurdism, if it were patently supposed to like spit in the reader's face as far as what their expectations should be, you know, like if that's what the intention was, it almost would be like good. But he's written this as a novel. It just, I hate it.
Yeah. So he wrote a sequel a year later, called Bob Honey Sings Jimmy Crack Corn.
And I don't care.
That's an astoundingly good setup for that joke. Like, it's like it was on purpose.
Uh-huh. I'm sorry, are you making a meta joke or are you doing genuine insight? I can't tell anymore. The sarcasm is so deep.
I would not be surprised if like 3 out of 5 reviews, like every 3 out of 5 reviews started with that sentence. Bob Honey sings Jimmy Crack Corn, and I don't care.
So, the blurb for this one, kind of really took me aback, at least this one part. Bob Honey sings Jimmy Crack Corn, the madcap follow-up to his debut novel, which was hailed by authors as diverse as Salman Rushdie, Jane Smiley, and Paul Theroux, explores the deepest recesses of American politics and culture. I'm like, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Salman Rushdie hailed this author? What? What is happening? Like,
not that Salman Rushdie, a different one. This Salman Rushdie sells used mattresses in Tampa Bay.
This book explores the deepest recesses of American politics and culture. Bob Honey, the disillusioned divorcee with a penchant for murder by mallet, weaves his way toward Washington, D.C. for the ultimate showdown with a certain nefarious landlord, but nothing is as it seems, and Bob will have more than just the government working against him.
Another government?
Part comedy and part thriller, Bob Honey sings Jimmy Crack Corn establishes Sean Penn as a fixture of the literary landscape for years to come. Does it, though?
No.
No. Maybe if the fixture's a toilet, sure.
There's an article about it on Kirkus Reviews. When last we saw him in Bob Honey Who Just Do Stuff, the enigmatic killer was being hauled off to the pen. Now having opted for fugitive flight, he's the subject of a manhunt. He goes blackface, a disguise that a grimace-inducing fellow agent in light garb sees right through, first muttering, when a black man...
Hold on 1 second, Tom. How did you resist the urge to include this amazing 1-star review called Bopping Bob Honey Bunny Foo Foo Over the Head? Rolls this book up tightly and bops Sean Penn over the head. No! That's a bad Sean Penn. Now you rub your nose in it and never do this again.
Where did you see that?
This is on Amazon. This is one of the reviews on Amazon.
That's fantastic.
No, bad Sean Penn. Look what you did.
So yeah, he goes blackface, a disguise that a grimace-inducing fellow agent in light garb sees right through, first muttering, when a black man used soap his skin dry ashen, then dropping the patois to say, you look just like a crazy white guy with a tar all over his face. Honey tries again, this time going in drag on the Acela train to Washington and speaking in falsetto to a senator who once did right by the downtrodden, but then became a supporter of the flim-flanging... what is this sentence?
The flim-flamming finger-fucker who won the 2016 election.
Yes, that's what this needs, a transatlantic accent. There are only 6 reviews for this book on Goodreads, and they were all bad. And so I found this book on Thrift Books for $5, and I also found a signed copy on eBay being sold for $300.
Damn.
And at the bottom of the page where they have related items, I see multiple other copies also being sold by the same seller for $300 each.
Do you think it's just Sean Penn?
I found another copy being sold by a different seller for only $50, so I don't know. I did a search for the book on eBay under completed listings to see if anyone actually bought these. I found only 2 people that had bought this book on eBay, one for $10 and one which was a signed copy for $35. I don't think that seller is going to get any buyers for his collection of signed copies of Bob Honey Sings Jimmy Crack Corn.
Maybe Sean Penn showed up at a restaurant and couldn't pay, and instead he said, "Here, I'll sign a bunch of these books. You can sell them on eBay for $300 a piece."
And then he bonked the waiter over the head with a mallet and ran out.
No, that's a bad Sean Penn. Bad. Stop upping the waiter.
Tweet me, motherfucker.
So that was 2019. Hopefully he didn't write any since then, but just... he wanted to quit acting to do this?
Some people got dreams. As you said earlier, writing sometimes takes a very long time to get good at.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like to watch the world burn, and some of those people, a subset of them, are perfectly fine if the world that's burning is the one that they have built for themselves.
I don't know where to go from here.
No, you kind of just sucked all the creative juices out.
Yeah,
It's amazing how somebody's own failed creation can make oneself feel less creative.
Yeah, I really genuinely feel like this book has done psychic damage to me.
Mm-hmm.
It hurt itself in its own confusion.
I feel like I need to hold Sean Penn responsible for this.
It's like, you think about the concept of these things existing, and it's just like, why does this get the opportunity to be made? There are so many other things that would be, what our culture could be richer for having, as for not existing. Like that Mario Kart realism mod that I've been talking about. Why did Sean Penn have to write a novel instead of learning how to code N64 hacks? That would have been useful.
Yeah, why can't we be in the timeline where Sean Penn makes some Mario Kart ROM hack?
When are we going to get a Super Mario World ROM hack of Bob Honey who just do things? You know what? That's it. That's the thing. I think Sean Penn just missed the medium on this one. He shouldn't have written this as a novel. He should have made it a Super Mario World ROM hack. It's perfect.
So Mario goes to DC to fight Mr. Landlord?
Yeah, and hit him with the hammer.
He just hits everyone with hammers. Hey, like Mario has a hammer from Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
And you just need to replace all of the enemies with elderly people. Like, it writes itself, honestly.
It writes itself. This is genius. Sean Penn, call me.
I didn't mean to come up with a good idea. Stop.